Glaze, Quickshade, Speedpaint, Dispel Magic, Contrast, Lahmian Medium. What's the difference and which one is the best for thinning washes? I'm Stahly from Tale of Painters, and this is my ultimate acrylic medium comparison and tier list. First things first. In this video we talk only about acrylic mediums used for thinning washes like citadel shade paints or diluting ink-like paints like Contrast and Speedpaint. There are also a lot of other acrylic mediums that make your paint more matte, more glossy or more transparent, or prolong the drying time, but these are not the point today. Are you interested in other acrylic mediums? Then drop me a comment and I'll see what I can do in a future video. Today I'm testing 6 acrylic mediums: Lahmian and Contrast Medium from Games Workshop, Speedpaint and Quickshade Wash from the Army Painter, Vallejo Glaze Medium, and Dispel Magic from Scale 75's Instant Color range. Each medium will be used for the thinning Acrylic Earthshade Wash, Wildwood Contrast Paint, Darkwood Speedpaint and Rhinox Hide. The diluted washes will then be applied to a bunch of Space Marine intercessors I've primed with Corax White, which is a light grey matte primer. I'll rank the results in a tier list from best to trash, and I promise the results will be quite surprising. To do so, I have taken super high-res macro pictures of the painted models, which we will compare together in just a moment. We start with Lahmian Medium from Games Workshop, probably the most well-known acrylic medium. Or is it? Lahmian Medium has the lowest viscosity, so the pigments are flowing well into the recesses. However, this makes your washes quite thin and thus somewhat more difficult to control. I therefore recommend using Lahmian Medium more sparingly than the other mediums. The shading on the parts of the model painted with diluted Acrylic Earthshade is quite pale and soft. However, the transitions can be quite harsh and there's a weird staining effect visible on the edges of the bolt pistol's casing. Mixed with Darkwood Speedpaint, we see a quite smooth result, but the recesses dried shiny and cloudy where a lot of wash has gathered. The areas painted with thinned Wildwood Contrast paint don't convince me so much. They look quite uneven and lack definition, and unfortunately thinning with Rhinox Hide didn't work at all and bled out the brown pigments. I tested thinning Contour Blue and Lahmian Medium achieved the desired effect there, but I would still be careful if you want to thin normal acrylic paints with Lahmian Medium. All in all, it's a mixed bag. The low viscosity makes Lahmian Medium unique, but I can only put it in the C tier, especially as there's another product that does everything that Lahmian Medium does, but better. More about that later. Next we have Contrast Medium. Contrast Medium has a medium viscosity and a slightly milky appearance. On the parts painted with diluted Acrylic Earthshade, we have an extremely smooth result on the flat areas, yet the brown pigments have settled very nicely into the recesses, creating a more pronounced shading than Lahmian Medium did. The transitions from light to dark, for example under the breastplate, are also quite smooth. Darkwood Speedpaint thinned with Contrast Medium looks nice. The diluted Wildwood also turned out smoothly if we disregard the pooling on the flat leg armor, and the thinned Rhinox Hide also makes a good wash, even if it has not dried out completely dark in one of the recesses on the left foot. Overall, Contrast Medium provides a smooth finish and gives very good results no matter what kind of wash or ink you use it for. For me, this makes Contrast the best all-around medium, so I have to put it on S tier, which is a bit of a bummer because it's also the most expensive product. But we have a few more mediums left, so maybe we'll find a contender who can rival Contrast Medium. The Army Painter's answer to Games Workshop's Contrast paints is Speedpaint. I've reviewed and compared these in another video. If you are interested, I've put a link in the upper right corner. Speedpaint Medium is quite similar to Contrast Medium, maybe minimally thinner and not quite as milky in color. When thinning Acrylic Earthshade, Speedpaint Medium does a good job, even if the transition from light to dark can be a bit abrupt, as you can see on the shoulder armor. As the name suggests, Speedpaint Medium lends itself very well for thinning Speedpaint and achieves probably the best result in this regard. Wildwood Contrast paint thinned with Speedpaint Medium also looks good, but of course there's the pooling on the leg again, and I particularly liked the result from diluted Rhinox Hide. Except for the slight pooling on the leg, the dark brown pigment settled very well into the recesses. But what about the reactivation issue? As I found out in my Speedpaint review, dried speed paints bleed through when you paint over them with acrylic paint. Does thinning with Speedpaint Medium have the same effect? We'll find out. I'm painting Glaze base paint over a few areas where Speedpaint Medium has been used as a thinner. Here comes the first coat. Straight from the pot, don't tell anyone please, and here is the second coat. As you can see, there's only a minor reactivation on the thin darkwood speed paint on the left pauldron, no reactivation with the other paints. So the culprit for speed paint's reactivation issue is not the medium, but the dyeing agents used. Overall, I liked Speed Paint Medium very much. When it comes to thinning washes, I feel Contrast Medium is slightly ahead, but Speed Paint Medium is a little cheaper, so overall a very good A-tier candidate. Next up is the Army Painter's other product, Quickshade Wash Medium. This is intended for washes like the Army Painter's Quickshade inks. In terms of consistency, it has the highest viscosity of all the mediums tested and a very milky white color. It definitely needs to be shaken well. Mixed with Agrax Earthshade, we got a decent result. The pigments settled well into the recesses, however we also see some staining on the flat areas on the bolt rifle. The areas painted with speed paint are surprising. The Quickshade Wash Medium mix left a distinct grainy texture on the flat areas, the only medium who did that. Mixed with Wildwood Contrast paint, however, the result is quite smooth, even though bright spots have formed in the recesses where a lot of wash has gathered. The diluted Rhinox hide is quite light and pastel when dried, and we see these undesirable bright spots in the recesses again. All in all, a solid if average performance, and the thick consistency takes some getting used to. However, it's also one of the cheaper acrylic mediums out there, so therefore I put Quickshade Wash Medium in the B tier. Next is Vallejo Glaze Medium. This medium has been on the market the longest, and before there was Lahmian Medium, it really was the only medium meant for thinning washes. It has a medium viscosity and a slightly milky color. It dilutes washes well, but has one disadvantage. It increases the drying time enormously. I had to leave my test model overnight until it was completely dry. And here's the result. The diluted Agrax Earthshade and Darkwood Speed paint went nicely into the recesses, the transitions from dark to light are even, though we see a minor coffee staining effect. With thinned Wildwood, it's noticeable the glaze medium makes the contrast paint very matte, and the pooling is also prominent. The diluted Rhinox hide has clearly lost a lot of its color and looks very pastel and milky. All in all, a decent result, but because of the endlessly long drying time, I can only put glaze medium on C tier. The last medium I'm testing today is the one that surprised me the most. Dispel Magic Acrylic Medium from Scale 75's Instant Color range. It comes in a 60ml dropper bottle and at €7, it's by far the cheapest product per milliliter. The color is slightly milky, the viscosity is about as low as Lahmian Medium. The areas painted with diluted Agrax Earthshade are very smooth on the flat areas, the recesses well defined, only the transitions between light and dark are sometimes a bit harsh. On the areas painted with Darkwood Speed paint, we also see a very smooth result with dark pronounced shadows. Dispel Magic also does well with Wildwood Contrast paint. We have a very smooth result except for the usual pooling on the leg and again very dark shading. Rhinox hide looks a bit blotchy. I should have used more medium here, so I tested it again on the back of the chainsaw and the result was good as well. Using Dispel Magic works like a charm, and for me it has displaced Lahmian Medium when I need a good flowing medium for sharply defined shadows. On top of that, it's super affordable. Definitely an A tier. It can just be a bit hard to find as not many online stores and local gaming stores have it in their range yet. If you have trouble finding Dispel Magic, check out the links I've put into the description below. And that brings us to the end of this test. Before I reveal to you the final tier list, if you made it this far, why don't you smash the like button, subscribe to my channel and hit the bell so you don't miss more videos like this. You can also support me on Patreon for exclusive tutorials and resources. Thanks a lot, and here is my list. Definitely a few surprises in my opinion. I wouldn't have thought Lahmian Medium would be so outclassed in a direct comparison, having used it so many times myself. Of course, none of the mediums are a total failure, but some are just a touch better than others. Contrast Medium is my S tier, the soft transitions and all-around capabilities have really convinced me. However, at 26€ per milliliter, it's also the most expensive product. A good alternative is Speedpaint Medium, especially of course in combination with speed paints from the Army Painter. As a complement, I recommend Dispel Magic from Scale 75. This medium is much thinner and pushes the pigments particularly well into the recesses. In addition, it's the most affordable medium at only 12€ per milliliter and a superb replacement for Lahmian Medium. Quickshade Wash Medium is average, but rather cheap. Lahmian Medium I would probably no longer buy because of the price and the average properties. The only product I would really advise against though is Glaze Medium, at least for thinning washes, inks and contrast paints, as the drying time is astronomical. I feel it's better suited for wet blending. That's it for today, and if you haven't tried all enamel washes yet and want to learn how they can speed up your painting, be sure to check out my beginner video here on the right. Thanks a lot and happy hobbying!